to Fintech Family Hour, folks. This is Zach Anderson-Pettit, U.S. Content Director at Money20. By day, your host by night. We have my friend and coworker on the show this week, Micky Tesfaye. Doesn't that sound Italian when I say it like that? He's Ethiopian, but it makes me want a pasta every time I say Tesfaye. Micky works on the EU content team, and we have many fascinating discussions, him and I, about wildly nerdy things, and I wanted to open source a little bit of that wildly nerdy conversation for you. We cover some last year, we cover some prognostication about this year, and we also dig into some therapy, as this podcast tends to. But before we jump in, I am wildly excited to welcome our new sponsor to the family for the beginning of this year, Skipify. Go to skipify.com and stay tuned for more about Skipify a little further into the episode. We'll be doing a lot together. It's not just going to be, reading ads. We'll have their CEO on the show. Very much looking forward to having them involved. There's some really exciting stuff happening in that company. But without further ado, let's have some fintech fun with Micky. Whew, that was the nerdiest thing I've said in 2024. But it won't be the nerdiest through the whole year. Without further ado, here's Micky. All right, Micky. How you doing, my dude?
Zach.
Welcome to Fintech Family Hour, my friend. How you feeling today?
I'm so excited. I cannot believe this day has finally arrived.
I mean, we have been talking about this for a minute.
And I'm like, yeah, mom. Yeah. This is where I'm at right now.
You say, yeah, mom, or yeah, man?
No, yeah, mom. Because I'm like, I've made it.
Told you, mama.
This is the peak.
Yeah. I've been dying to be on a podcast where within the first 30 seconds we get nowhere and he drinks out of a blender bottle.
Yeah, and this is what I'm about, man. I'm excited to be here because I feel like we talked about coming on here. Actually, we did do one episode. That crazy episode.
Which one?
It was...
Oh, post SBB. All right. So, Fintech Family Hour listeners, you actually have a returning guest that I forgot was a returning guest because that's how my memory works. But we love you anyway, Micky.
Thank you.
Welcome to Fintech Family Hour. Remind folks who you are, and then we'll actually go back to that SVB moment because that was a magical minute.
It was crazy. I'm Micky. I am a colleague of Zach's. I work as part of the Money20 Europe content team, and also I'm just an all-round awesome dude. That's it.
That's accurate.
That's it.
That's accurate.
Yeah. Some
of the most fascinating and intricate and bizarre conversations I've had about fintech in my life have been with Micky, have been with you. I'm not sure. So this is the first moment that we have a camera involved in Fintech Family Hour. So what
it's
I'm really
actually difficult though.
I'm like, do I look at you? Do I look at the camera?
I know,
we both do this for a living and we don't have an answer.
I know. I'm like,
all right, so we have Micky on for a couple reasons. One, I'm in London and I'm lonely and I only have so many people to talk to here. And Micky's
that's making me feel quite valued. Yeah.
One of my favorites.
I'm lonely, so
he's my only friend in the city. Two, it's 2024 now, and we haven't really done a retrospective on 23. And I think this is about to be a weird fucking year. So I feel like we kind of need to talk through the weird fucking year that was 23 to have a little bit of...
Have enough time?
Not really. So we're going to do it through the lens of Money20.
Perfect.
We're going to do it through the lens of that 4 days that you and I lived together. Or 4 days that you lived, 3 days that I died the fourth day. But we'll get there. Okay. So first off, one of the things, as I was talking to my producer, Johnny, about what direction we should go with this first conversation, one of the things that he brought up, and this was initially going to be a solo podcast, everybody, but it's mid to late day in London and fuck that, and I'm too tired and I feel like talking with Micky and I don't want to do this alone. But one of the things he was talking about bringing up was the idea that no one actually knows what we do for a living.
Facts.
What it goes into building one of these shows and what we have to do, because I think a lot of people think it's a 2-month job and then the rest of the time we're just chilling or something like that. So let's start there. How would you describe your job, especially in Europe specifically?
Yeah, I think it's a hard one, right? Because in a way, like, you think the job is pretty clear from the outside, right? We do something pretty straightforward and obvious. We have these fantastic events that we run, and then when we do run them, our job within the content team is basically to create the content that would go on stage. Now, you think that's pretty straightforward because it's like, all right, you have sessions and you make them happen, but it gets complicated because one, fintech is huge. There's actually a shit ton of fucking amazing people in the industry.
Well, it's tiny and huge, right? Like, that's the weird part, is it's absolutely gigantic, but like, it's a really easy slippery slope into the same people over and over and over again, right? Like, we've been sitting in the room together working all day today, and Simon Taylor, shout to him. I don't know the number of times that we've said Simon's name out loud today. And Alex Johnson and Jason McCullough and Nicole Casperson and like the squad. Like, we've said their names over and over and over again today.
Yeah.
But it's a huge industry. It's not just like these nerds that constantly write and like are very loud about it.
Yeah, but I think, and that's exactly it though. That's the challenge, right? Because it's like, our job is to both reflect the industry,
right?
Like, and reflect the key people who are not necessarily the experts, not that they're not experts, but the key people who are, let's say, like little lighthouses for specific areas of an industry, right?
Like a regulatory lighthouse.
Exactly, regulatory. You might have, let's say, a Simon, right, who has awesome breakdowns, and
he's an actual expert, right?
He's an expert.
He's not he's a lighthouse, I guess, of a thing or two. But that's the thing, is like, you light up enough of those lighthouses and you have an actual expert.
you would read what he would write, and you have a good sense of where a lot of people might be thinking about a subject area, or where there's a lot of interest or attention, right?
Yep.
And it's a good bookmark, right? Of like, and so he's like in a book, he's like one of the chapters, let's say, right? As an example. And you have loads of amazing people like that. They have their own communities. Probably that's the best way to think about it, is, as we say, right, we bring together all the various fintech communities.
Right.
And for us, the job is to identify the areas or the people where each of these communities begins to coalesce, right? So part of it is really just trying to mirror the industry. But then you've got this other side where you want to push the industry forward with specific things, right? So whether it's diversity, whether it's even just questions around just the direction of travel with the industry, or even within our industry, right? There's a lot of it is ambiguous, right? A lot of it is in the promise of the future. Blockchain, AI, all of it is about the future. And so you actually don't have a lot of stuff in the current right now, right? So you have to figure out and try to find a balance of reflecting the existing status quo, the industry, in like the best possible way, but also trying to move that forward. And then on top of that, you want to kind of make sure you're bringing in all the different and diverse voices, because even within the industry, right? Like, let's say you're talking about a big thing right now. Let's say diversity. We talk about diversity. There's a whole host of ways you could talk about that. Are we talking about gender diversity? Talking about diversity from investing perspectives. Yep. Are we talking about financial inclusion? Are we talking about a regulatory level? You know, and each of these different strands has that rabbit hole in it. So I think that's what makes our job complex, is about trying to marry all of these different needs with a lot of unknowns.
I'm fascinated by the expert piece. How much do you care about an expert versus a lighthouse? Because I think it's something that, as an industry, I think, lean on the Simons, lean on the Nicoles, lean on we lean on this like expert perspective, thought leader person a lot. And there are moments, like, I think Simon would say to you that, you know, he knows stuff, but like, if you want to learn about fraud, go to Soups, the CEO of Sardine, where Simon also works. So this is just slowly turning into a Simon, like, we're just gonna plot. Hi, Simon. We're just gonna plot his family history here too. He would say go to Soups, right? Because Soups is the fucking fraud guru. He's the guy, right? Yeah. So he is like that lighthouse. And I guess I kind of get to this place where like I feel like I've been on a 12 year journey in trying to learn about financial services and fintech and whatever the hell you want to call this thing. And I feel like I don't know shit. Yeah. Like, I feel like I have no goddamn idea of what's going on anytime. But then I get into a conversation with people and I'm like, oh, wait, like I'm keeping up in the conversation. I must know something.
Yeah.
But I'm still super convinced I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
So how do you think about that? And do you feel like an expert?
No, not at all. And I agree with you. Like, I mean, I do not feel like an expert at all. But I think the way I think about it is maybe there's two different types of experts even, right? There's like the super industry specific experts who can talk to you about soups, for example. And there's not to put him in a specific category, right? But
you can't argue that he's the fraud guy, though.
But like, you can't argue. But that's not to. It's not to limit him.
Yeah.
Right? But you know he's got
stay in your box, soups. Stay in it.
Yeah, I don't want to see you talk about anything
else. Nothing else.
But yeah, you know, like he's gonna be fantastic at explaining this concept. He's at the forefront of it. He has that technical expertise, right? So you have that expertise in terms of the very specific subject matter expertise. But I think you also want to have different types of expertise, right? You want to have expertise like a Simon, for example, in my head is an expertise in a network effect type of expertise, right? He's a lighthouse insofar as not everyone who works or attends our show, for example, right? They work in fintech, but you could be working in a marketing function. You could be working in a product function. You could be working in a sales function. You could be working in a design function.
Continue to name everything you could do at a company.
But you could
yes, go.
You could do loads of functions.
Yeah, loads of all the functions, homie.
But we think and we say that all of them, fintech brings them together.
Yeah.
But the level of knowledge and even desire and need to know what Soups knows if you work in marketing is not the same as if you work in product building specific financial rails.
Yeah.
So I think you have to have a balance of the specific industry technical expertise, the people who are building the companies, but also the experts in terms of the people that help you define the broad narrative and the things that you want to talk about. They are experts in a different type of way. That's how I view it.
No, I agree completely. I think the thing that I get stuck on is like the identification of yourself as an expert. I think that's the thing that I guess.
Why don't you think you're? Why? If someone says, "How come you don't think you're an expert?"
From my perspective, an expert has to have expertise, and that expertise requires almost omniscience. You know, there's like something associated with expertise that is godlike or something in my head that is like, you know, you can answer any question about anything, right? Yeah. And like, I know what an issuer processor is. I know what an acquirer is. I know the differentiation. I know I could list the number of both. I've built versions of both. Well, I've been around building versions of both, but I've never written a login line and code. But at the end of the day, like if you were to ask me how settlement actually happens, fucking, I don't know. Like, well, there's a different answer for a lot of different situations. And then there's a different answer for different regions, and there's a different answer for different technology, and then there's a different answer if you carry the two. And then at the end of the day, like, this is why I think anybody that is fucking convinced that they know everything about this industry, I will die not knowing everything about this industry, and we can spend the rest of our lives in it.
No, that makes sense. But I guess that is probably, you know, the more you say and explain it like that, are you not an expert in a specific way, right? It's just your role requires a different type of expertise, which is finding out relevance. For instance, you know, you've got cross-border payments, and you've got a regional bank, and you've got a crypto startup, right? And you have to house all of these people and people with these interests. And maybe that is your expertise, is having that degree of, I feel like I know enough to see how I can make all of you guys have the same conversation, but I don't need to know enough so that my attention is entirely devoted to finding out the nuances and specifics of this. You know what I mean? Because
yeah, I mean, yes, I do. But it's one of those things where I want to know the nuances of all those things. I mean, to your point, I think that, you know, like we're over 100 episodes on Fintech Family Hour. Thank you to all of you. I love you to death. Like probably if it weren't for my lack of expertise in general, just like curiosity and running towards people that know a lot more, like I don't know if this podcast would be interesting or mean shit to anybody. So I think I guess I'm glad that I have that perspective. But to your point, I actually said that I wanted to talk about this on some podcast, so we might as well bring it up right now. We just spent how many hours in that room talking about taxonomy, right? So for listeners or watchers, there's a product that's happening inside of Money2020 that is pretty public, and it will be very, very public soon, that is a data-oriented product that one of the pieces of it is that there is a taxonomy of the entire world of fintech, right? And then there's banking tech, there's supervisory technology, there's regulatory technology, there's all of these different things. And I think, had a 20-minute conversation about where Chime fits. And we ended up basically after 2 hours getting to the point of like, this is all undefinable.
Yeah.
You can't have one company. Cross River Bank does not exist in one place.
Yeah.
That was the actual example that we were going over because they take on VC funding. They do some investing. They're a sponsor bank. They're all of these different things. And like, how do you delineate this industry? You can't.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, I think to your point, I consider myself, I guess, enough of an expert to sit in those rooms and have conversations and like question and poke and prod and like, but I don't have the answer.
Do you think if you didn't have the answer, you'd be good at your job right now?
What do you mean?
If you did have the answer, do you think you'd be as good as your job? Because I think part of...
Tell me how good I am at my job.
I mean, let's save that one for later. But, because I feel like, because you said, right, like you have these conversations with the industry experts and you're like, you're understanding and you're keeping up with what they're saying. It makes sense to you, but you still don't feel like an expert, right? And I wonder that is maybe a prerequisite of what you do. It reflects the specific type of role of doing the content at a place like Money20, because you do need that desire for knowledge and that willingness to think, oh shit, I don't know shit. Because otherwise, if you did, how would you be able to? Because a lot of what we do is a labor of love. Like a lot of it can be fucking boring. I'm not going to lie to you, because if I've got 2,000 names on a spreadsheet of applicants to go through, it's just a lot of manual stuff to do. But we do it because we actually are super interested in I knew this shit, why would I look at that?
Oh, you're so right. Okay, that's true. I mean,
you had that.
That's yeah. And cut it and print. There is something associated with that call for content process. So for listeners and like a little bit of background here. So Micky being on the Europe team is a little bit different, but me being in the US, every year there's going to be a moment where you all provide your submissions for us to ferret through and Micky's out here posing, to ferret through and figure out what really, in this economy, in this world, in this year is the thing that needs to be discussed, right? Yeah. And last year in the US, I believe we had 2,200 submissions. So if you multiply that by like an average number of speakers per submission is probably like 2.5, something like that. You end up at like 6,000 speakers pretty quickly, especially when you realize that a lot of people are putting in like 5 speakers for a panel. So it gets you to this place where you're so right. If you are convinced of your knowledge and you are convinced of the lay of the land just being as you see it, like, why would you ever read 2,000 of those? You get paid to do it, but like, there's a lot of ways to get paid in the world. Exactly. And that shit is so fucking fun. Like, if there is like one of my favorite parts of the job is like that set of weeks and months where you're just reading and going through. It's the biggest cheat code in the world. Like the things that we get to see just because of people, like things that never make it to the stage, but people put so much work into their submissions that you're like, oh man, like I just did 2 weeks of my job and now I know 100x more about, fraud in this specific geography or something like that. Like it's such a cheat code.
And I feel like the thing on top of it that makes it even just wilder is, often like the way we perceive what is good or the best, right, is super basic, right? We have like a quantitative measure, right? A company is valued at 100 billion versus a company valued at 50 billion, right? Sure. 100 billion companies, a better company or whatever, right? When we do what we do though, because you're meeting different companies at different stages of development. It's not a linear process, right? So you realize there's actually a lot of just mad insights you gain as a company that you might not have heard of will be coming up with just the most insightful things or present the exact same thing every single other person talks about in just a different way. And you start realizing and that's the beauty of fintech, just I think as an ecosystem and as an industry, right? It's like what we said at the beginning. It's huge, it's global, but it's also mad localized.
So yeah.
So then you've got all of this knowledge sharing, and then you've got, I mean, random people talking about something, and you're like, you know that piece of insight could have huge ramifications for the biggest banks in the world, for instance.
Oh my God. Do you remember Rohit coming in
22?
Was that 22?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you do you remember that story? Okay, so I don't think I've told this story on the podcast before, so I have to tell it since this is just like a recap, I guess, of whatever who knows what the fuck this is about. And I hope you're still listening, and I love you all. So there was a wild moment. We left like 15 minutes open on the main stage in just like on I think it was on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
In the show, and it was like midday, and we weren't sure. So this is this is like the definition of inside baseball. We just remember the Rohit thing? And then I went straight into the fucking story without even bringing up the fact that he's the goddamn director.
This guy.
The director of the CFPB or anything, maybe bring some perspective on who he is. Okay, so Rohit Chopra, not Deepak's cousin. He is the director of the CFPB. I mean, I don't know. He actually might be Deepak's cousin. That would be wild. That would be some shit. But he's the director of the CFPB. The CFPB was put in during the Obama administration, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, yada, 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 yada. They've been leading the charge specifically on the open banking initiative in the US, 1033. A lot of prognostication. We're running behind the UK very significantly. We're running behind Europe pretty significantly. Like, we got a little bit. There. I mean, well, let's not talk about the broader economies or we might have issues. But you guys are just murdering PSD too.
Yeah, anyway. We're very global, as you can tell.
Yeah, and I'm like the definition of a global nationalist or something. Where just like I love everywhere, but I talk shit. Okay, so CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, 1033. Open banking rule. So we did not know necessarily if Rohit Chopra was going to show up and speak. We didn't know what was going to happen because there's so many things associated with these regulators where if they let something out of the bag a day early, it moves the market here, it moves the market there, it moves the market everywhere. And then we have something, significant that happened that was pushed by a regulator and had stocks move and yada, 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 right? So we wake up, I think it was like 6 a.m., something like that. And I already had an email in my inbox. Rachel and I already had emails in our inbox that was like, the director will be speaking. And this was the crazy part, is they sent the Word doc that we had to put into the teleprompter.
Of like his speech?
Of his speech.
Yeah.
So there was like a 3, God, I wish I could ask Rachel. It was probably like 4 to 6 hours, something like that, between maybe even longer, because it was 6 a.m. when I was sitting in my room, like, did he actually send this to me? Like, what? Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, we have secured email, all that kind of stuff, but it was still just like a moment of like, I read the thing. I had not left my room yet. I don't even know if I had showered yet. And I just had this moment of like, this is like market moving information. It was huge. I mean,
we get regulators coming and talking, but that was also an introduction of a regulation.
That was introduction of guidance more than anything else. But that guidance was so important, and that was the biggest moment at the show in 22. And reading that at 6 a.m. and then having to sit on it and like walking by all of my favorite people and like just knowing that like the right thing for the United States and the future and everything else is like, not that I ever actually considered saying anything, but it was the insanity of this job and the moments where you're like, I have to sit on this market moving, world changing information until it gets said at 1 o'clock on the stage that I helped conceptualize and build.
It's crazy.
It's the weirdest. Like, you have these moments where like this, we work in events and our job seems so fucking silly sometimes, but there's also moments where they seem so meaningful, like so important. Like, I wouldn't be who I am without having gone to Money 2020 for multiple years before working here. Yeah. Like I would not be the person that I am.
I think and that's the thing. I know exactly what you're saying, because I think sometimes unless you are part of the community, unless you attend, it's so difficult to kind of really explain the impact.
If you've never been to Money 2020, you tuned out so long. This is the dumbest conversation you've ever fucking heard.
Well, why are you still listening?
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
you're not. Maybe, yeah. Let's stop this. But no, even like that Rohit thing, I remember it because I remember the lead up to it because I'd come in to help your team out because you guys were short staffed.
Because we needed help, big dog. Let's be real, you know what I'm saying?
But I remember because, for that a couple of weeks, we had this idea that someone from the CFPB would come and speak, but it was not him. And there was, like a lot of the stuff that people don't get to see about our jobs, right, is this really crazy balancing act that we need to do, which is on the one hand, right, like we want to make sure the content is the best fucking piece of content because of what you just said, right? It's market moving. Just do a simple calculation. 300 plus consumers in the US, right? In theory, a guidance like this is going to affect 300 potential million people in the biggest economy in the world. This is not to overhype a job, but this is literally the very basis of what he spoke about, right?
No, like, dude, me sharing or any of us having any leak of that info, like it went, the funny part was like it went without saying, kind of. Like when we were working with the CFPB and they made it very clear that, on every call, like anything we share with you, like, of course, right? But it never crossed anybody's mind even a single time to say anything, right? Like the fact that we have a culture that like just automatically protects stuff like that because we know that it's the important thing for like the American economy. And half of the fucking team's British. It's so weird.
It's crazy.
It's so weird.
But then also on top of it, we have to then have the like real world challenges because you have these big important pieces of news, but then you have to have an agenda so that people know what they're gonna go and see. Yeah. So it sounds dumb, right? But like that one of the most stressful parts about my job, right, is because of what we said. I don't feel like I'm an expert.
Right. The
thing that I feel strongly about is I'm like, I'll always just question it. And sometimes I don't mind asking a dumb question because I'm like, is it dumb? But that's
what we get paid to do, dude. Right? Like, from my perspective, like this industry does not allow for enough dumb questions because it's like, especially the average 55 to 65-year-old white male that's functioning in a payments org, fucking down the street to the left and is convinced that he knows everything. Like that dude refuses to ask any first principles question that's going to come across dumb. Mm-hmm. And that is why we exist. Exactly. We exist to ask the dumb first principles question because that motherfucker that we're talking about actually can't answer it.
But now the problem is we know and we accept we have to ask dumb questions. So you know, you're never sure if this content that you've worked how hard on is the good one. But at some point, you have to put that on stage or on the agenda so people can come to it. That is fucking hard. Because there's 6,000 fucking amazing people. And at some point very soon, you have to commit and say, it's only you 300 people that are going to speak. And that is the hardest bit because out of those 6,000, I'll be honest, 2,000 are pretty shit submissions.
Yeah.
But then 4,000 is like, and it's like each one I have to like rack my brain because it's not exactly just easy stuff. It's really complex, really intelligent stuff. It's a lot of hard work. And now you make me pick.
We could do...
So be nice to us, please.
Yeah, that's a thing. We could do so many actual shows with the submissions we get. But so be nice to us. That's a fucking interesting one. It's that time again, folks. Time to welcome a new sponsor to the show. Drum roll, please, Johnny. Who could it be? It's Skipify. There we go. All right. What is Skipify? Well, go to skipify.com and that will give you all of the information. But bear with me, and we're just going to go down a quick little road of my version of the what and the why for them being here and us partnering together. So Skipify creates new infrastructure and new protocols that connect merchants, financial institutions, shoppers, and physical devices into a next-gen digital wallet. Cool. What does that mean? One, you can create new products that otherwise aren't possible to build with legacy digital wallet structures. Two, we're just talking flexibility, folks. You hear that? Yeah, that's the sound of possibility. Possibility and flexibility. It sounds like that. Whatever that is. But hold up. Wait a minute. Let me put some definitions in it. Legacy digital wallet structure, you say. What does that even mean? We're talking about walled gardens. We're talking about insulated payment products without flexibility. You, if you have an iPhone, may be able to click twice on the right and get straight to what maybe I'm even referencing, or one of the things I'm referencing. They're often not the right thing for the consumer. And even if they are, they tend to leave the consumer with limited choice, not to mention the limited choice and limited functionality that businesses have to deal with every day. Did we, us, you, me, I'm talking about us here, did we get into fintech to decrease consumer choice? I didn't. That's not why I'm here. And it's not why the Skipify team did either. And if it is why you got here, this is a really weird podcast for you to be listening to. They're driven by building an open ecosystem that gives businesses a chance to actually drastically improve their payment experience, all the while decreasing fraud. So you're saying numbers go up, but then the bad numbers go down? I think that's what we're saying. They are bringing card present transaction approval numbers to a card not present world. That's going to be the name of my book one day. But why did I want to bring Skipify on as a partner for the beginning of 24? The ethos, 100%. I've said so many times that the only groups that are going to ever be sponsoring Fintech Family Hour are going to be ones that I believe in, ones that I would recommend, and actually people that I like being around and associating with. And these are those people. Rith, the CEO, Rithy as I call him, and the Skipify team embody the reason that we all started down this fintech road to begin with, helping people by building something meaningful and then scaling it to millions and millions of people to actually have the impact. And that is what this team is doing. I personally see Skipify as the future of payments infrastructure in the US and beyond. They're poised to take on the big dogs, and it's going to be fun to watch. It already is if you're actually paying attention. I personally feel lucky to have them in the corner of Fintech Family Hour, and I hope y'all are a little bit excited about supporting them with me through this journey. Just a little bit. Come on now. We do this together, right? Family and all that. So in the coming months, you'll be hearing more about Skipify. Go check out the site at skipify.com. Take a look at the open roles. If you're trying to find a new fintech adventure in the form of a rocket ship, because that's what this thing is, welcome Skipify. So good to have you here and so excited about the future. How much time do you spend thinking or aware of the idea that people might want something from you versus wanting to be your friend or something like that? Like, have you had that since you've come into this role?
A sense that like people build relationships.
Maybe
with
the
me
people
because,
would be trying to use your friendship.
Yeah, of course, 100%. I mean, I think you notice that because
it happens.
I know it's because professionally there's a time in my life when I'm very popular during the year,
Yeah,
and then afterwards it's like. Yeah.
Damn, dude, I'm a 10 leading up to October, but in January I'm a 5.
Around? Literally, that is it. But I mean, I think part of it is just, yeah, that's a hard challenge, and I don't know how you. I think those are things that I also find hard, and you just always trying to lean on colleagues and be like, "Yo, what do? I feel bad."
Saying no to people is wildly difficult. Like, I think the thing about this job that I'm most excited to, I mean, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it. So, you know, I mean, it's not a forever thing by any means, because dude, if you do this for 4 or 5 years, like, I think it takes a toll on you that is so different than any other role. Like, 2 years in this role has felt like the best 2 years of my life, but also has felt like 10 years.
I'm not surprised because I think also, again, the thing that makes you good at this job is the thing that takes a lot away from you in the job, right? In the sense that, like, if you're good at it, it's because you really care and you're trying to, like, talk to every single person and you're vetting everyone who's trying to speak, and for every one speaker or session you put on stage, you've probably talked to 100 different people and you've thought through 100 different ways that could be that's a lot of work. So the more you care, the more you put in. So the more intense it is. And, you know, on the other side, it's like you're a coach at a top team or some shit. You know, you see them at the start of the season looking all great and fresh. And then, like, halfway through the year, that 30-year-old has now got, like, a mad silver hair, you know?
Well, that's the thing is, like, so we're 2 shows into doing this role, and this last year I died on Wednesday. I literally couldn't even make it to the show Wednesday.
I was there. You were supposed to speak on my stage.
Yep, that was a good time.
Thanks.
The Real Housewives of Fintech never made it to life, but we came so close. God, that was a fucking hilarious situation. And the year before that, I almost died
me,
too.
I just want to say, not for me.
Do you want to describe the situation?
No, I mean, it's just normal, get to the stage that I'm managing. There's lots of stuff there. It's 10:25, 5 minutes before start. And, my speaker / moderator, Zach, is not there. And I'm like...
But which Zach was it? This is my favorite part of the story.
Oh, my days. That was
a technology thing.
I was like, I saw Zach, and it says Zach Parrott. So I'm like, I didn't know you.
Hooray.
Sorry.
No, I'm fucking with you.
Sorry, I'm not American. I'm French. Is it French? I don't know.
No, I don't know I don't know what Zach's background is, but
I'll call him Zach. I can't even call him Zach P, can I?
Nope.
But the other Zach, the billionaire Zach. Let's call him the Zach with the billions, yeah? Let's you come back to that.
That is the correct delineation, my friend. Yeah. We are still waiting for access to that Carta account.
There we go. But and it was like that Zach with 4 other speakers. So I'm like, cool. It's gonna be cool.
So just for context, you thought on a Wednesday at Money 2020 that on the black box stage, which is a really dope stage, but wasn't like the biggest one, the CEO of Plaid was going to be interviewing.
There. Let's just stop right. I thought. Did you say? Wait. First of all, I was helping your team. I was given documents and running orders by your team.
He's got receipts,
which were filled by your team. And I thought, no, I just read. I was like, look, my friend, I have very good reading comprehension.
I've heard that about you.
At very, very least high school level. And
I've heard good things.
You know what? It said Zach P and there was no Anderson in between. I was like, that must be billionaire Zach. Then I get we're a big operation. So, content people, we don't like to walk a lot. We just get the speakers to come to our stage.
Yeah, we're not walkers. We're talkers.
We had my stage walker, Mindy, lovely lady. She's like, yeah,
Shouts to Mindy.
Zach is not here. And she showed me a picture of Zach, billionaire P. I didn't think things. I just saw there was no interpretation. It was just, I was like, oh my fucking God, this is a nightmare because it's also the fucking moderator. If it was a speaker, you're like, all right, well, we don't need your views.
Yeah.
What happens when the moderator's not there? But thank God, the 4 guests were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was like, yeah, I just had a call with Zach. I was like, and then you called me. I'm like, this motherfucker, bro. Our job is hard already. You don't need to give me unnecessary additional little obstacles. Am I trying to prove how good I am?
Shouts to Emily from 6 Eastern for stepping up big there.
Thank you, Emily. You
stepped up real big.
Yeah, you saved me. You saved potential lawsuits.
I was supposed to have 3 interviews that morning. I was going to be interviewing Claire, and then I think there was one more that I was going to be doing.
I feel like by your 3rd year, you will know that you can't eat seafood the day before an interview.
Yeah.
That's what real wisdom in the show is.
I don't know what, I mean, it was like, didn't eat all day. And then Tuesday night, we got to that like nighttime content in the restaurant, like comedian that I'm a fan of, I'm about to sit next to on stage, hadn't eaten all day. It felt like putting a little like shrimp roll situation in my mouth was a good idea. Was not a good idea. Also, not drinking the whole show and then deciding to have a drink while I was on stage with him, doesn't go well with the shrimp roll, turns out.
Yeah,
so not the best decision.
But I feel like, wait, I know we were joking around and stuff a lot, but like on that actually, how do you manage your health on site? Because honestly, that shit, it kills me.
Well, I mean, I can give a lot of really sarcastic answers, but I'll try and give you an actual answer. So one, this is actually a kind of interesting question. So I walk more than normal leading up to show. So I walk probably...
Like in prep, you mean?
Yeah. So I'll do I will consciously make an effort. Like I don't know if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you probably know I rock climb, lift weights, things like that, but like avoid cardio like it's the fucking plague. Like I will walk in New York, I will walk in cities, but other than that, like I enjoy a car, I like a ride. God, I sound fat. Jesus.
You like rock climbing.
I love rock
climbing. So it sounds like you work in tech.
Exactly. Yeah. The man bun coming soon.
That's it. Yeah.
So I actually very consciously start walking a lot more leading up to the show because the sheer steps, like the first year I did the show, by the end of day one, I had shin splints to a degree that I could not believe. So I'll actively start walking. I really do actually do a lot more hydration leading up to the show than I would normally. So got I think one IV before heading out to
we're just gonna have to do a whole side episode on that bit. I know this is an American podcast, so that you're just dropping that.
It's not just
a normal thing. Like
I have
in the lead up, bro, that's a medical procedure for us European listeners. I just want you to know.
So I got listeners in Antarctica, so this is an international kind of situation. Global. Here. Yeah. Oh, okay. So IVs. Sorry, folks. We're back. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we are recording. We are moving through.
It was not a medical intervention.
It was not. It was close, though.
I just want you to know.
It was close. I was just about to. Yeah. Anyway. So I got an IV before. So got an IV before leaving for the show, and then I got an IV at the show, and then I got an IV when I got back from the show. So hydration is a big part of it, but. Let's go back to we were hanging out last night and your perspective on like why are you so shocked by IV businesses? Why is this so weird to you?
Because I am probably like one of the 7.8 billion people that lives outside of North America. So typically we
carry on.
Because I'm like, indeed I too don't drink enough water, but I'm just like, should I not just drink more of it?
It's different.
I know. I think it's a cultural thing, though. I think America is interesting because even when I go there with like lots of other things, right? Stuff that like TSA clear, pre-workout. There's lots of stuff that I said yesterday. We were having this chat, right? America's the place of business. I believe it now because it's like 100%. What you guys have successfully done is you've successfully managed to unbundle like fintechs, right?
He brought it back, folks. That's my boy. That's my boy. Brought it back to unbundle, rebundle. See, let's keep it going.
Yeah, fintech, you've unbundled stuff that we all naturally expect to be bundled, bro. If I'm going to the airport and I've spent hundreds of dollars minimum to go on a flight, and now you're making me pay to get on that same flight earlier than the same people I'm going to go on the flight with. And what's even crazier is you've told me this is genius. And now I'm paying for the service. What? The land of business and commerce.
It's accurate, bro. I mean, you know what you guys could make a lot of money on over here? Ice. There's a whole industry.
Wait, are you talking about ice? Because we use ice in a very different way here.
Yeah, you don't.
You mean actual like?
I mean water and you freeze it.
H2O under
water
a certain temperature. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were talking about
not like the regulatory body.
I thought you were talking about narcotics and of the kind.
We use ice differently here. He says.
But continue.
Johnny, we might have to cut that bit. Yeah, I'm really not sure. I'll have to Google it first, actually. I think that's the first drug reference I didn't understand.
Ice is the perfect example, though. Cold brew.
Exactly, y'all motherfuckers. It's not that hard. Just brew it cold over 12 hours. It's easy. It's much lower acidity. You guys also don't have fucking filtered coffee.
Can you just tell me, like, quickly the process for making
cold brew?
Cold brew.
You put coffee in water.
That's hot first? You
No. You just put coffee in cold water. You put it in the fridge and you leave it overnight. And then you filter the coffee grounds out.
Why is there such a big movement around it though? Why?
It's 80% less acidic than just like regular coffee.
America, right there for you.
We're healthy. Oh my God.
This is to get back
Listen,
to the
homie,
point, right?
We love obesity and health. These are the two things that we love. All right. We love green drinks and McDonald's. Okay.
Honestly, sometimes I feel like America is what happened. Sometimes, even though First of all, I'm just gonna say this.
You know who won the Revolutionary War. You know who won the Revolutionary War.
You know, I go to the US a lot, but America is, I feel like, what a country looks like if it was run by VCs. I'm just saying. And I
don't disagree.
I'm just saying, it's not a lie.
I don't disagree.
And you're like,
Washington was the ultimate seed. The ultimate seed round was the ultimate seed round was George Washington. Yeah,
there you go. You're like, you know what? Yeah, the total addressable market's not big enough, so let's make it bigger. Mm-hmm. And now we've created the companies to go and target this huge addressable market.
It's true, and we've iterated a lot since then too.
Did we just crack the VC model?
I think not.
No. Almost. But yeah, I think that's why. Yeah, I think it's a cultural thing probably around the IV thing.
Yeah, and it sounded like last night you didn't not sound scared at needles either. Homie didn't sound excited about a needle.
Everyone knows me, and the first thing they say about me is brave and not scared of needles is how they typically describe me. So
that was
yeah.
Brave is one of your top adjectives.
Yeah,
I did endorse you for that on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So it's nothing to do with my personal fear of like needles or that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's just more to do with like
it's cultural.
It's I'm a very complex man with very specific views on socioeconomic structures. So
I've always thought that about
views. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll get an IV before I go to the show. I definitely, year one, I lifted every day during the show, and that was stupid as shit. I should not have done that. So this most recent year, I did not do that. Beyond that, it's just an attempt to sleep and manage stress as best you can. And
managing stress, how do you do? Do you have outside of work on a normal week, right? Mm-hmm. Do you do things to help you manage stress normally? For example, and like I know you're quite health conscious. You work out.
I thought you were about to be like, and I know you're quite stressed.
Wow, no. But yeah, you try to take care of yourself. You try to take care of yourself. You work out and whatnot. But do you find? Because I find when I go to the show, like one of the worst things for me is when I get stressed. I can't eat well. I can't eat, and I can't have good nutrients, like the right type of energy. So I lean into the worst types of shit, coffee or sugary stuff.
Sounds like a great time for an IV.
Sounds like a VC creating a market right here again.
I don't know. Shout out to Lux Wellness in Kansas City. But anyway,
this episode is not sponsored anyway.
Actually, this episode is sponsored. Shout out to Skipify. Not sponsored by Lux Wellness. That's just my IV provider. But shouts to Skipify.
But so how do you do that bit? Like when you
now that we're talking about it, I can't stop drinking. I'm just like, shut up, Mickey. I need to hydrate.
Look at this guy. This guy is like 99% water. 9% IV, the rest is water.
Homie, I watched the one Bruce Lee movie, Be Water, and I have ever since. That's where we're at.
I like that,
You're welcome.
But you're so cultured.
Fucking A, right?
But to go back to, because this bit, I actually really want to know for myself too, because how do you, when you wake up, because the thing that people don't get to see about our events, right, is it's intense, but it's even crazier for us. We meet at like 7 a.m., right?
Yeah.
So that means you have to be up, especially in the US, fucking Venetian, you have to walk 30 minutes. So you have to be up super early, and then you can't go to bed before 12, 1, right?
Literally can't.
You're engaged.
Cannot.
There is always someone something you're doing.
Cannot. And this is the thing I think people don't understand is like the number of times, and I fucking love all of you, but the number of times that I get like hey, we're over here, or, hey, we're over there. Like, I want the invite. Please keep sending them to me. But like the idea that you're going to get upset if I don't make it, like this is like the one, it's literally from 7 a.m. to midnight.
Your whole time is accounted for.
There is a job to be done. Yeah. That entire time. There are multiple jobs to be done. Throughout that time, I'm probably in 5 meetings multiple times, like 5 meetings at once with 6 different people asking me questions at the same time. And I have to, yes, no, like literally just standing between 4 tables. Question. Answer, like it's insane. And the idea that you're going to get to the end of the day and it is Fintech's family reunion. Like all of the people I love the most are in 1 to 2 buildings in a very small space. But still, from 7 a.m. to midnight, the requirements make it so as soon as it hits midnight, I'm going the fuck to my room where I paid for my own upgrade so that I have a little bit. That's to your question of like things that I do to stay semi-sane is pay an extra $100 a night. Like, you know, obviously Money20 pays for the room. That's how the job works. I think everybody would assume that. They're like, what? No wonder you're struggling. You pay an extra $100, you pay an extra couple $100 per night, and you get either a balcony or you get an outdoor space. In Vegas, that is worth its weight in gold. Like how hard it is to get from your room outdoors. The idea that I get to the room at the end of the night, I can sit outside and just look up at what would be stars if the sphere wasn't there. That's magical. Like this fresh air shit. That multiple times a day that keeps you going.
Let me ask you another question.
Yeah? All right, I like this
because you said right, and it makes a lot of sense, right? You said when people invite you to stuff, you love it, but also it's a bit crazy. You didn't say that. That's my words, but the expectation has to be fair that your time is super accounted for. So as much as you want to go, there's a likelihood you're not going to be there, right? That's fair, right?
Overwhelming likelihood, no matter how hopeful I am. Yeah.
Do you view it that same way, like when you've got stages that are not as full with capacity? Because you program content on 7 stages and you know how hard you've worked for it and you put amazing content on. And now you've got people and you know you put 2 fucking, 3 fucking, 4 fucking stages with amazing content. And now some of them, everyone can't be everywhere at the same time. Do you view it like that as well?
I think I know what you're asking.
I guess my point to you is a lot of our jobs, right? A lot of it is...
Like, do I take it personally if our content is not well...
Like, how do you judge the success of your show? Because I think the success of what we do often is judged on also visually, how many people are at a show, an audience, right?
So
do you have that?
Yeah, I think the anchoring point that I have on it is not offense due to lack of attendance. It is an anchoring point back to my time at the show. So, or like my time before working at the show, but just attending the show.
Yeah.
One, like the reason that I do this job is a big fat Greek wedding quote. Have I ever told you this? I don't know if I ever told you this. So the matriarch of the family in Big Fat Greek Wedding is like, she's like, you know, I don't remember how the conversation comes about, but the quote is, the Greek woman is not the head of the house. The Greek woman is the neck that turns the head, right? Like that is my description for my job is I'm not Jamie Dimon. I'm not Brian Moynihan. I'm not Jane Fraser, whoever, right? Pick your CEO. I don't know, Mickey. That's what we're trying to figure out. I'm not those people, but you're not those. None of us like sitting in this office are those people, but we have the power to, if they're looking 90 degrees, make them look 93 degrees or make them look 94 degrees. Or, you know, you have the power to actually shift the trajectory and shift the future of this industry in a way that fucking matters to the average American or matters to the average. I don't care about the average European as much, but I'm just kidding. Matters to the average European, matters to the average human in the world. That to me is like, that's the heuristic. So if we put on a panel about real-time payments and it gets mid-level attendance, or I mean, it sucks. It sucks no matter what. But if at the end of the day, Rohit Chopra and, you know, some CFPB announcement puts us in a position where people are able to, we get to a point where by the end of the show, 1 to 2 to 10 really big moments that drive the financial industry in a better direction happen, I think you just got to let go of all the other shit. Like, what do you suppose, like, how do you get people to go to that thing, or, you know, like, I think you just end up going insane if you focus on all of it. And that's coming from somebody that is very much a perfectionist. And when it comes to this show, not a perfectionist in a lot of other ways, but when it comes to the show, very much a perfectionist. But yeah, like, I mean, as long as things are happening that genuinely drive the industry forward in a positive way, then like, I don't know, it sucks, but I'll deal with it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But that's also, you know, it brings us back to the first thing we started talking about, expertise in this job, right? Is that precisely because what you need to be able to do is not know every subject as well as the people who are speaking about it. But what you need expertise is to know it enough to know why it's relevant for another group of people and know their needs and what they want to know enough. So you're able to connect all of these people, right? And that in itself is expertise. Sometimes it's jack of all trades type of shit, but that jack of all trades in itself is an expertise, because one of the biggest issues that exists, whether it's in politics, whether it's in economics, or what we solve as Money 2020, is there's lots of people having lots of different conversations, but often they're not having the same conversation, but they think they are. And that's really what our job is to say, hey, this is the platform for you to have your conversation.
I fucking love that.
There you go.
We're going to stop it there. That was good. That was nice. That was nice. You just cherried on top. Nice little, here, give me a little mic bump.
Oh my God, I don't even know what I said now.
Yeah, that was a lot to ask. I think it'll be all right. Johnny will pull it up. Johnny will pull up the audio on that one.
Yeah, I don't know what I said, to be honest, but if it makes sense, I hope it makes sense.
Mickey, my man, we have a new show starting at Money 2020 soon that we're going to be letting people know about once we actually kind of have a couple of those in the bank. We got
a name.
We'll figure that out too. We got a lot of stuff going on. Anything you want to let the folks know about, where they can find you, anything along those lines? Any plugs?
Come to Money 2020. Please do not find me. I will find you.
Ooh, that's good.
No, I'm just joking. You can find me on LinkedIn. But also you can find me on our latest podcast. That is the only place I'll be available.
Perfect. Mickey, my dude, I love you. You'll be back way more often. Audience, get used to this voice. You're going to hear it a lot. Bump me. Bye.